Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world right now. Thank you for taking the time to join us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Orla Dormer. I am Head of Growth and Community with TrustWorks, and I'm also host of the Practical Privacy podcast. Slightly different to most podcasts, this one is bite-sized and a very practical focus on the real challenges faced in the trenches. If you don't know the TrustWorks is a leading privacy and AI governance platform built around the reality of how organizations actually work. And we also offer a community we currently have over 600 members globally, privacy and security professionals. We have a Slack space for sharing best practices and advice. We host roundtable discussions on a regular basis, followed up by LinkedIn Live sessions, which is what we're doing today. We also offer a mentorship program where you can participate as a mentor or a mentee. And we also offer a peer engage program, which is an opportunity to connect one-on-one with peers around the globe, basically. So if you would like to join, there should be a link available somewhere here on LinkedIn, or feel free to DM me directly or anyone on my team. Or obviously on the TrustWorks website, you can also get a link to join. So today I am very pleased to welcome Cristina Costache, Global DPO, CISO, and Chair of AI Council for Noventic. Welcome, Cristina.
Thank you, Orla. Happy to be here.
So if we look at your title for a start, Cristina, not exactly your average privacy team member. You're almost the unicorn. We always say that privacy, you need an army. There needs to be lots of different skills and whatnot. But you come to the table with quite a few. Can you maybe talk us through your background a little bit?
Yeah, I think this would be an interesting, maybe not unique, but few people have this kind of background. I was actually originally trained as a litigator, a litigation lawyer. And if you imagine now that if you have enough time or if you are of a certain age, you can actually shift between roles, and each time we change roles, you build on top of your previous role. So I've been a litigator, outside counsel, inside counsel, general counsel, GDPR mandated DPO. Now, as you mentioned, I lead two full-fledged functions, privacy and information security as a DPO and CISO for Noventic, and I'm also chairing the AI Council. Noventic is operating on more than 60 different jurisdictions. I also had the privilege of serving a 5-year term with the AIPP's European Advisory Board and currently serving a 2-year term on the AIPP's Privacy and Engineering Board. Recently added to the EDPB's Specialist Reserve List, the support pool of experts for legal expertise in new technologies. And in my spare time, I volunteer for initiatives like the TrustWorks Community Mentorship Program. This one is one that I really enjoy.
Wow. I don't know where you find the time, but I am very impressed.
Thank you.
So hopefully this also means that you can, I suppose, give us a different viewpoint on this topic. So privacy by design, everybody talks about it. Everybody, I think, will agree. It's the dream. It's the perfect scenario. However, like everything else, in theory, it's marvelous. Not always that easy to put into practice. So from your experience, what do you see as being, let's say, the main challenges in trying to implement it from the start? How do we get going? Like, what are the main difficulties maybe that we might face?
The arc that brought me here is honestly a story of slow realization. I started as most privacy people start. I thought privacy is not a legal problem, but a legal program. Of course, back then, many years ago, I was a general counsel, and when the GDPR was published, I brought the data protection function under the legal department. My initial thought process was write the policy, file the right notice, get the right signature, and privacy is delivered. after about 5 years in, I started noticing something. Even organizations with best documentation, they were struggling, in particularly related to the implementation of the privacy by design principles. Even all the DPIAs are complete, training is done, sometimes maybe twice by accident, the privacy kept breaking. Just ask yourself a question. What happens when a product team needs to ship something on Tuesday and the privacy review actually takes 3 weeks? What happens when an engineer asks, can we use this data set to train a model? This is more let's say, current type of question. And the email that they get back is 14 days later with 20 additional questions. The obstacles that I've seen are almost never legal. They are cultural, they are structural, and they are operational. First would be, I think, the compliance illusion. If an organization looks privacy ready on paper, as I said, privacy, DPIAs, trainings done, there is always a binder, a portal or dashboard to provide with maybe from legal perspective all the right processes to embed and have privacy by design. But in general, there are hundreds of small privacy decisions made by people who never open the binder. The second issue that I've seen is the ownership gap. Privacy usually sits under legal or with a DPO/privacy office if they are separated. These are escalation functions, not delivery functions. They cannot own decisions inside the engineering sprints. The most organizations operate as if legal/the privacy office owns every privacy decision, which means in practice, legal might not own pretty much anything from the actual decisions that are made in operations, like telemetry settings or a particular platform configuration. So the ownership. The third, and I think it has been accelerated by the AI era, is the speed mismatch. The privacy functions in regulatory cycles measures in months usually. Engineering operates usually in sprints, may be measured in weeks, and AI operates in experimentation cycles measured sometimes in hours. As long as the privacy function moves slower that the layer is trying to govern, it will be rounded around. Not because I think anyone is reckless, but because they are trying to deliver. And fourth, this is again something that is coming in the last year and has accelerated in the last month, is AI experimentation. People are running models, integrating third-party AI tools, fine-tuning on customer data sometimes, often in teams that they don't know that they are supposed to flag it. So the privacy functions, if they find out, maybe this is 3 months later, when somebody asks another question or there is a side discussion not related actually to deployment. I think the pattern across all four is pretty much the same. If privacy is designed for slow, deliberate, sequential review, and we are operating in a modern delivery pace, which is fast and distributed and automated, we have a very big discrepancy between the program that is meant to govern and the activities that are meant to be governed. So in general, yes, this is why I see the biggest gap. I used to think that again, back in the day, it was a behavior problem. They say we need to train more. We need to train more. The people don't understand. We need to train more. What I have learned in the last couple of years that this is actually a system design problem. And when I say system, I don't say an application. It's on how an entire organization is meant to define ownership and take decisions that are same for the business and in line with the company's strategy, including, of course, alignment with the privacy legislation and privacy principles.
And obviously the risk appetite of the business.
Of course.
So I think, yeah, like I suppose we always say that like the privacy team can't work in isolation. It's one of the few roles in the business that can do very little on their own without involvement from the rest of the business. But as you say, if we spend all of our time building out these beautiful dashboards and all this wonderful documentation, but who's reading it, who's understanding it, and realistically, how much is it taking into consideration the speed that the business operates, who's responsible for the different functions? So it's actually a very complex challenge, really, to actually to address this. So tell us that you have found the magic potion. How have you approached this? Because as I understand it, you have actually, managed to make some progress with this and got a certain level of success. So maybe talk us through how you've approached it.
Yes. With the caveat that let's say in our company, we have this particular situation where one person is responsible for multiple programs. I see them as operating on the same infrastructure. Yes, they are mostly different teams. So the privacy team is separate from the security team, is separate from the AI governance capability. However, they operate under the same architecture and design decision model. This is particular for my company, but for companies that don't operate in the same structure when it comes to the privacy program / information security / AI governance, I would say that you need to sit down with these teams day in and day out. This is what we are doing. We are always in constant contact with the engineering, the DevOps, the IT, the security, and the privacy. Everyone is kept in the loop. And also we design a couple of processes or standard formats to cover these three disciplines in one form for threat modeling that includes the privacy and the regulatory reviews. One form for capabilities that we have defined as mandatory for our new technology. Yes, because for example, and this is exactly at the point where the business negotiates or is looking for technology to be purchased and then integrated. Defining the minimum capabilities that we would accept in any new tool from security, privacy, and AI perspective, like does the tool allow for data deletion or anonymization? If not, they cannot qualify to be brought into the company. Does it allow for encryption? What kind of encryption? Does it allow for data subjects or support VSARs? And I can go on and on. So if you look at let's say the principles when it comes to data protection, it's usually, yes, these are principles defined by the law, but you can always translate them into technical configuration capabilities. And if
Yes.
you cannot do it from the privacy function perspective, you need to sit down with your engineers or your technical teams to understand exactly what are these minimum capabilities that you would accept. So that is a gateway that I think is very, very important, and maybe an example of a first step on how to implement this privacy by design. Because if the system cannot support the implementation of these principles by design, it will fail in protecting privacy or aligning with the program objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one thing that we did, again, by the fact that we are running the 3 programs in parallel made it easy. It's not impossible. Again, you need to sit down with the teams that are responsible for the other programs and construct it all at once. We have unified the review process of any new vendor or any new tool. The threat modeling from security perspective, including the security technical overview of the system, is combined with a DPIA for let's say the related activities, because any new tool from my perspective, and as we have defined, it would require, yes, because it will have implications in the manner in which data is processed. So by default, when we are introducing a new tool, we are triggering a DPIA as well. And also we have combined this with, we call it AI intake assessment, can be called anything else. Again, it's an assessment on the exact, if the tool has AI embedded, we need to understand exactly the model, the classification under the AI Act, and the threats, yes, to freedoms and liberties and of physical persons. So the process just starts once, and we are bringing together more and more. We haven't made a single assessment yet. We are working towards it, but the process is one. And of course, the people involved, meaning that they are reviewing and accepting or not accepting or reverting to the vendor, are different. One is for AI, another for security, and for privacy, but the process is one. And also we having these predefined capabilities document and clarity on the process, even though it's painful, I can say it's still painful, both on us and on the vendors. It sets the expectations from the beginning, from the vendor side, on what we are asking, and let's say a good indication on how long it will take. Because while we are running these assessments and we are going back and forth with the questions and additional documentations, we are also negotiating on the data processing agreement. And if it is the case, and it has already happened on the AI Act, AI addendum. So we are running in parallel, but again, bringing all of this together, it gives you a clearer picture on the overall capability of the tool and what exactly this tool will do. And you also have the visibility on the expected use, because you are also in constant discussions with the business team that will actually use that tool, and you will have an understanding on how this will be used, for what purposes. And every time and with every engagement that we have with the business, I've seen that their level of awareness and understanding has increased like no training that I did in the past helped with. So really, really, this kind of interactions and open discussions, especially when it comes to use cases and issues that we are seeing with a particular tool, always raises the have raised the awareness of the business related to privacy threats, to AI threats, and to security threats that I've seen a lot more efficient than the traditional training.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, because I know we've talked, like people talk in general about how now that we've got, we have privacy, and now most privacy teams are taking on the AI governance. And we've talked a few times about how rather than having, parallel assessments, obviously we should try and pull them together. So given the fact that you have already done this piece of work, are you seeing a lot of overlap? Are we talking about a much longer questionnaire, or are we coming across actually a lot of crossover where we're actually able to blend them in?
Yeah, so we started on this journey. In no way, shape, or form, I am here to say that we are perfect and we did it and there is nothing else to discover. What I've seen by combining the function and the processes is having greater visibility gives you a more strategic view or a more strategic approach on any decisions or any path that a certain program needs to take. To be honest, at this point, the assessments are longer than initially because we have, with these practices, learning from each other, privacy learning from security learning from AI governance, and so on. We have expanded, let's say, the questions because we have learned more and we have a bigger visibility. Because when it comes to, let's say, the process of review of the documents, for configurations for a system, for example, privacy will have visibility on that documentation as well, not only security. That is a common pool, and the teams will have the same visibility on all documentation provided by the vendor. So by learning this, we have expanded the questionnaires. What is helping now is the fact that a lot of the bigger vendors have actually moved and established trust centers where you have a lot of documentation related to privacy. They have their TIAs there. They have some kind of bias assessments for AI tooling. So what we have did, because we are also providing services and we are also considered a vendor for our clients, and we are getting killed by 10,000 questionnaires. We have started pulling the information from these trust centers first, analyzing everything, and then pre-populating the questionnaires so they only address the information that was not available. Excellent. I know that it sometimes seems like more work, but from my experience, it is less because until we did this, the time it took for third parties to fill in our questionnaires was too long, and we were approaching, we were dangerously approaching the moment where we need to actually sign the contract.
Yeah, I can say from experience, I'm used to getting very long questionnaires to fill out. And I do sometimes think it's all in the trust center, but if I have to go through all the documentation, it takes time. So I think, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to summarize what we're saying. So the first thing is working together with the different teams, AI, security, privacy, DevSecOps, etc., with not just working together in theory, but actually having ongoing conversations. Unifying the forums. So we're actually pulling together the information, learning from each other, and getting a deeper knowledge, let's say, into the tools and what they're used for, etc. Defining the minimum requirements from the get-go. So we're all on the same page. We all understand what we need. Unifying the review process as well. And obviously, this also means that you're speaking more with the business units. So indirectly, you're actually increasing their knowledge and making this whole process hopefully smoother going forward.
Yes, smoother.
Did I miss anything?
No, I just had a glitch in the sound. Did you ask a question?
Was there anything else that I missed other than?
One thing that I think is also critical that I haven't mentioned up until now is the decision makers. As I said, legal/privacy office is an escalation point. The decisions are made in different areas at very high speed. And what you need to understand when it comes to a privacy decision in these high-paced areas are who is the decision maker. If you say legal is or a certain team is and you don't have a specific name, there you have a gap. And you really need to understand it and pinpoint the exact person. There is, let's say, a principle that when everybody is responsible, nobody is responsible. Yeah. And until and unless you have one single owner, first name, last name, you won't get, let's say, your agenda pushed when it comes to a privacy decision. And that person can be, I've seen companies using privacy champions. In the same manner, you can use decision owner. Yes, because if once they are responsible for the entire decision, for example, for DSARs coming from employees, you need to have one process responsible, not per layers, not. We made it for, let's say, different because HR cannot be for clients, yes. But when it comes to candidates and employees, we have one HR person that is responsible for the process. When it comes to a certain sales channel like e-com, we have one person. That will always make it easier, not easy, it's never easy. It will make it easier to implement. For example, you have the data subjects rights policy or whatever it's called in your organization. But have you ever tested it in real life? We are looking at, let's say, privacy exercises like drills as well. The way we are conducting a security drill where we simulate security incidents and then we see the flow and what needs to be done and where are the gaps, the same needs to be done for DSARs. The same needs to be done for technology deployment, because then, first of all, you test your policy, you have your policy, but until and unless you have a disaster, that policy will not be tested. And I usually prefer to have it tested in a controlled manner than discovering the gaps during an issue or an incident.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think everybody understands the value of the security breach, you know, the phishing and whatnot, and testing us to see it. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, the likes of, as you say, doing a trial of a DSAR and making sure the whole process is actually working.
Yes, and maybe it's not for privacy by design, but also one thing that I think the community will benefit is having a simulation for privacy invasion. meaning that you gather some, not the entire organization, and put them through a couple of scenarios where their privacy can be invaded, and just to get them realizing some of the operations that are done, maybe this would not be expected, even though there is a privacy notice, of course, and papers are signed, and this would be perceived actually as an invasion of privacy. I think it's, again, it's suddenly opening, and the realization of the privacy, potential privacy harm, is a lot faster than any e-module training.
Yeah, no, that's true, actually, because everyone understands, you know, the security side of things and what the harm could potentially be. And we can all imagine what it would feel like personally if somebody hacked into our computer. But I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand what a breach of privacy would be like. And sometimes you need to take it home and let them feel it to realize it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say tomorrow, next week, somebody wants to hit the ground running now, take on this advice on board. Obviously, we can't do everything straight away. There are steps involved. What advice could you give? Where should we prioritize?
Start Monday, don't work over the weekend until unless it's a real emergency. I would say think about one privacy decision in your company that really bugs you. Or one thing that has been happening over and over again. And again, telemetry, vendor onboarding, AI training data can be whatever. And start asking the question, who owns this decision today? By name, as I said, if you cannot name the name, there is a gap. And then priority 2 would be the workflow. For that decision, what is the actual life cycle? Where the question, where does the question surface? What gets decided and based on what information? Third would be the integration. Connect that decision into the workflow it lives in, and sprint planning, vendor onboarding, model release, whatever it is. Privacy cannot be a parallel process running on its own track. It needs to be embedded in that workflow. And last but not least, priority 4 would be your measurement. And not the, let's say, classical how many DPIAs we did this month, is track the decision, was it made on time by the right person with the right information. That should be your new KPI. So I would say find let's say a decision, assign the owner, understand the entire life cycle, and then start measuring. I think if you manage to do this with one and then put it on a paper as a process, it will change your mindset. And then you can start looking at how to address the following decisions in the right manner.
Okay, excellent. I have no doubt people will be reaching out to you and asking you for for tips along the way.
Sure, no problem.
Just taking a quick look at the chat. So a couple of things, privacy, not just security, excellent. Quite challenging sometimes to find the people that are willing to take responsibility or accountability. I think that's a very common challenge across the board. Excellent session and great insights, Christina. Simulation in peacetime is critical and better in a safe environment. Yeah, amazing. So that's it. Thank you so much, Christina. Really appreciate your insights. And as I say, especially the fact that, you know, we always talk about how we have to build a relationship with all the different teams. You're lucky you get to be your own best friend. But it's good to actually see that this is working.
I'm not lonely. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great rest of the day.
Amazing. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. As I mentioned before, if you would like to join the community, and take part in these conversations. So when we host the roundtable, you can actively take part in the conversation. So yeah, feel free to join the community and join us on our next roundtable discussion. And that's it from us. Have a great rest of the day, as Christina says, and hope to see you all next time.
Bye.